7 ways to train and exercise your brain. The human body can be molded. It is programmed to adapt to our environmental conditions. In our society, we also have many facilities designed to shape or think. They control how our minds adapt so we can achieve the goals we want. To reach your maximum potential when it comes to mental training, you need to challenge yourself every day and exercise your brain. Mental training is one of the resources we have on our side to improve our mental processes. It is possible to exercise your brain by performing mentally demanding tasks. Of course, we cannot deny that mental ability has a genetic component. However, there are still strategies we can use to improve what we have. Exercising your brain is very similar to exercising your body. So to achieve the best results, we need to leave our comfort zones. We must be strong, constant, overcome difficulties step by step. When we are used to a certain task, when we can do it automatically, it becomes routine, not training. The following advice will help you exercise your brain and achieve maximum potential. 1. Practice a sport or other physical activity. Physical exercise that gets your heart rate up has mental benefits as well as physical ones. Above all, it improves connectivity between the frontal and medial temporal lobes. It affects working memory and executive function. The cognitive benefits of sport have a physiological explanation, which is that it favors the production of neurotropic agents. Neurotropic substances increase synaptic plasticity, neurogenesis and vascularization of the brain. It reduces the loss of brain volume caused by old age, especially in the hippocampus, which is involved in memory and learning. To get these benefits from exercise, you need to do it regularly for approx 30 minutes a day. Cardio exercises can be adapted to any person's abilities. If you are someone who has never exercised before, you can start by walking or playing a fun sport, like tennis or swimming. The cognitive benefits of playing a sport last into old age, acting as a protector against diseases such as Alzheimer's. 2. Train your working memory. Training your working memory is very useful for stimulating our cognitive abilities. There are many exercises for working memory. One of the exercises designed for this type of exercise is the N-back. In this exercise, you look at a screen and a shape that appears then disappears. Later it will appear again. You have to decide if it appeared in the same place as it was before. Each time you can increase the difficulty. This task forces you to retain recent information, compare it with current information. What is interesting about this task is that evidence has shown that the skills acquired here are transferable to other tasks such as logic. Any task that requires temporary retention of auditory or visual information, later the use of it exercises working memory and is a form of mental training. Listen to a series of numbers and repeat them in reverse order. In general, you should start with a medium difficulty level and then adjust it to your abilities. It is important to find the balance between it being challenging but not impossible or frustrating. 3. Get out of your comfort zone to exercise your brain. We need to do new things to strengthen our brain. We can start small. Maybe learn a new hobby that makes you think, such as learning to play an instrument. Or we could start watching a new show in Spanish with Danish subtitles. Once you're comfortable, change the subtitles to Spanish, then get rid of them completely. In short, it is important to continue learning throughout life. We all assume that children learn every day because that's what age is all about. Children can also learn more easily, and their neuroplasticity is at its highest. But as has been seen recently, it is never too late to learn. It is logical that the activities we do should be adapted to our age and abilities. Of course, They should also be activities that we like. Motivation is essential so that we don't give up on the new activity, especially if it makes us uncomfortable at first. Other examples of activities that increase mental ability are word searches, crosswords and Sudoku puzzles. Playing chess and even forming new social relationships can also benefit our brain. 4. Reading. Reading is one of the most effective and cheapest forms of mental exercise to exercise your brain. We don't need to use technology or other tools. We can do it in our home and it is a pleasant activity. The sooner we start a habit of reading, the better. Therefore, it is important to read to children and encourage them to start reading short stories on their own. Reading brings many mental processes into play, such as perception, memory and reasoning. When we read, we decode the visual stimuli, letters, words, sentences, by converting them into mental sounds that have meaning. This action activates wide areas of the cerebral cortex. Reading can also promote imagination, creativity, and help us learn new vocabulary. It's a way to keep learning that's fun and enjoyable. Of all the methods of strengthening our brains, reading is one of the most important. There are many studies that confirm that reading at an early age can cause higher cognitive abilities. 5. Live in a complex and rich environment. When we refer to our pets or animals in a zoo, we often talk about whether they are getting enough stimulation. This concept can also be applied to humans. For a human being, an enriching and stimulating environment will be full of novelties and complexities. An environment where there are changes that force us to adapt. For example, a child growing up in an enriched environment is always surrounded by new information and activities. A family that plays the piano at home and teaches the children, that reads together and supports critical thinking, makes room for mental growth. Children benefit from an environment where they face challenges and must find their own solutions. According to Stern, this type of complex environment provides subjects with two types of resources. On the one hand, we have hardware, with more synapses and larger dendritic arborization. On the other hand, we have the software, which consists of having more adjusted cognitive abilities. In adulthood, living in an enriched environment can be achieved by having an active life, both physically and mentally. 6. Improve creativity. To improve our cognitive abilities, we need to do more than calculation or memory exercises. Exercises that focus on unleashing creativity are also helpful. Music, painting, dance or theater are activities that favor creativity. They are also hobbies that can be done in our spare time that combat a sedentary lifestyle. Performing this type of activity helps induce greater mental flexibility and originality associated with the activation of specific neural networks. Creativity has also been shown to positively influence resilience, thus helping us cope with the losses and changes that inevitably accompany adulthood. Creativity can have a positive impact on the cognitive level, thanks to its influence on other levels such as motivation, building social relationships or other cognitive components. Any task that forces us to leave our routine and meet new people will affect the quality of life, especially for the elderly. 7. Learn new language. Language is one of the most complex higher functions our brain performs. It involves several areas of the cerebral cortex. Despite the complexity, humans have the innate ability to learn language, especially during childhood, when the brain is more malleable. However, we can learn languages throughout our lives. Learning a new language is a good form of mental exercise. Numerous studies have been conducted on the benefits of bilingualism, finding that it produces a more selective attention and develops the habit of commuting mental content. Learning 2 languages from the moment you learn to speak and using them in family, social and educational areas is the most beneficial. When learned after childhood, second languages will always be subordinate to the first. The only way to generate linguistic automatism without having to translate everything simultaneously from the native language is through practice. Therefore, it is not worth learning a language for only 2 hours a week. It is better for our brain to practice, especially by having conversations with natives. Conclusions about exercising your brain. Cognitive stimulation. Maintaining an active lifestyle can prevent neurodegenerative diseases and compensate for neurological damage. It increases our cognitive reserve and activates compensatory mechanisms for injury. It is important to do mental training exercises throughout our life, not only in old age. Escaping routine. Being an active person who wants to learn and discover things can all help you get the most out of your mind. Introducing intellectual challenges that leave monotony and sedentary lifestyles are the most effective forms of mental training. The use calculation memory exercises. Change your habits. In researching the cognitive reserve, the main factors that affect the flexibility of the brain are the work done throughout life with reading, years of education and the social network you have. So the brain is molded from your first year of life until you die, giving you plenty of opportunities to intervene in its development and exercise your brain.